a quick shot and, hey, I'm here, I'm in Star Wars, and then kind of walk away. So hopefully it's a little bit bigger than that. So yeah, that's basically the news. There's not a lot of news report. There's one big news that we'll leave for our main topic, which is Star Wars reveals some new Jedi's for the High Republic. So we'll do those at the end. But now we go to our Clone Wars review. So Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 7, Dangerous Depth. So after being imprisoned by the Pikes, after being imprisoned by the Pikes, and there we go, just leave it there. Ahsoka, Rafa, and Trace Martez find themselves in the planet Obadiah being tortured to reveal where the spice is. So if you remembered in the last episode, Ahsoka and the Trace sisters took some spice that was supposed to be for the Pikes, and they dumped it halfway there because they didn't get along, they didn't know what they were gonna do with it, but now the Pikes didn't like what happened, and they want the spice back. So, gonna be honest, I know I've been a little bit critical about the last 2 episodes of the season, the first 2 episodes of this Ahsoka arc, but I'm turning it around. I'm turning it around on the arc. I'm turning around on the Martez sisters. And this is what TV does, right? It's not a movie that you watch it once and you don't have time to start to meet the characters, learn more about the characters. And that's what this does. So I'm invested now in both of them. So I'm fully back on this season of the Clone Wars. I did enjoy this episode very much. It's one of my favorites so far of the season. Definitely of this arc, and it's probably top 1 or 2 of the season so far. And I think it's Star Wars. So, and Clone Wars, I think we're used to now, as we get older with the sequel trilogy, The Mandalorian, we're always wanting more action, kind of move canon, what's the next step to move the story forward. But I think we have to kind of take a step back, think what we liked about the Clone Wars when they came out first, and what they mean for a lot of people. It's not every episode doesn't have to be this big canon reveal or kind of building the universe. Each episode builds on each other, and we know that with Dave Filoni, this is usually what happens. So you meet the Martez sister in the first episode. Some of us, at least myself, didn't connect too much to them, but with the last 2, you start learning more about them. And then you start building on those characters and the relationships with Ahsoka and with each other and what they're going through. So yeah, it took a little bit, but I'm glad that I kind of stuck with it for this arc, and now I'm ready to keep going. So let's see what else. So we learn a little bit about the Martez sisters' hate for the Jedi. Sorry, again, lost it. Here we go. And this is the only thing that I've kind of have a little bit of trouble with the episode, and after that I kind of say, no, let's forget about it. I wrote it here because I get my words mixed up sometimes. In the first episode, it was a bit of a coincidence that Ahsoka crashed her bike on this platform that had a mechanic who needed help, and then her sister had a scheme. So it felt like too convenient. And the reveal on this episode of why the Martez sisters don't like Jedi was also a little bit convenient in terms that, oh, how convenient then an ex-Jedi is the one helping them. But again, it's Star Wars. There's a lot of convenient things in The Rise of Skywalker that I kind of go with. So I should do the same with the Clone Wars, so I'm good with them here. And also sometimes we might say, oh, the Martez sisters might be a little bit childish or whatever. Again, I've enjoyed Star Wars Resistance, which is one of the more kid-friendly shows that Star Wars has put up. So if I can deal with that there, I should be able to deal with the Clone Wars. Put that in the back of my mind and go, and I just enjoyed the episode for what it was, and it was a lot of cool things about this. And even as I'm saying that, Star Wars and the Clone Wars always have some deeper meanings and deeper themes. This arc in itself, just talking about slavery with the spice trade and the Pikes, Also, the Martez sisters losing their parents and now kind of being orphans basically and having to do things themselves and just rely on themselves. Those are big things that you usually don't get on kids show. So it's not fair to just say, give me action, give me Jedi. There's a lot of it. If you want to dig deep, you can find those things in there. So let me see what else from this episode. Oh, of course. So not the big reveal. The big reveal was at the end, but you learn now why the Martez sisters are wary of Jedi. They explain that when they were younger, there was this gangster named Zero, which we know she's referring to Zero the Hutt, being escorted by a red-eyed alien. Who else but Cat Bane, right? So we have a little connection there. And the Jedi were chasing them, and as they tried to stop them, the speeder or the ship that Zero was escaping crashed into a wall. They ran away, and the Jedi were distracted by the crash. And the crash happened next to the wall where the Martez sisters and their parents were, which unfortunately they didn't survive. And then Rafa says that the Jedi came over, a beautiful green skinned alien with dark robes. That if we look at the Jedi of the time, this is either Luminara Unduli or Barry's Offie, which if it's Barry's, we know her connection to Ahsoka. Most likely it was Luminara Unduli. So if you start thinking about, and if you want your canon connection, there you go. You just gotta think about it a little bit and you can make those connections yourself. And she mentions that the Jedi went over and said, I had to make a choice, but don't worry, the Force will be with you. Which sounds a lot like the Star Wars versions of Thoughts and Prayers. Really don't do that much in situations like this, so I understand how and why Rafa and Trace don't trust the Jedi. I did like the torture droid that they have. It's kind of all bended. So you know he's seen some stuff and probably has done some stuff also. Sorry, because I'm losing my connection. Okay, here we go. What else? The planet Obadiah, I did like the look of the planet. It's kind of run down a little bit, but the lighting effects, all the towers, it's a pretty cool planet. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Rafa Martez is starting to grow on me. I wasn't too on board with her in the first 2 episodes, but she's learning herself. Her relationship and her back and forth with Ahsoka is getting better. I did like a couple of times that says, yeah, we'll help you. Oh, no, we'll leave her behind. We're not coming back for her. I think that was delivered pretty well. Also, when her and Ahsoka are having a discussion and Rafa kind of asks her, hey, how did you do that? How did you jump over that gap? Oh, I'm more athletic than I know. I mean, I'm more athletic than I look. And Rafa's like, that doesn't make sense. The way Ahsoka cuts her that, there's no time for this. It was very Star Wars-like, very Star Wars-y, and for some reason reminded me of something Han Solo might say. So yeah, I'm on board with the Martez sisters, Trace and Rafa. But at the end of the episode, they end up the same place where they started, locked up. So let's see what happens in the final episode of the arc. But we can't talk about episode 7 without talking about the Mandalorians and who but Bo-Katan herself, voiced by Katie Sackhoff, make her return. And again, it might be because of the Mandalorian that we just watched, but this is where the episode 2 got turned from a good episode to great. And the person on her right, which here on the screen is my left, was, when you look at the credits, it was Orsa Wren, which we know as Sabine Wren's mom. But if you heard her voice and you listened to her voice, I guess you might have gotten the same reaction that I did, that her voice was very similar to the Armorer. So yes, let's talk about this a little bit. So we have the reports that Ahsoka will show up in season 2 of The Mandalorian. And then we have Ahsoka and Sabine are pretty well connected. At least last time we saw them in Rebels, they were together going to find, hopefully, Ezra in the unknown regions. So if we start putting things together in our own headcanon, if we want to start speculating responsibly, as they say in Force Center, or like I say, hypothesizing in hyperspace, if Ahsoka shows up, there's a good probability that Sabine might show up, or at least a mention of her. And then we know that the Darksaber is in play. The last person before Moff Gideon that we know had the Darksaber was Bo-Katan alongside Orsa Ren. So there's another connection to make right there. And who better to help Ahsoka either find Sabine or get the Darksaber than the armorer played by Sabine Wren's mom, Orsa Ren. So yes, a lot of strings, a lot of threads. If I was in my hotel, in a motel room, you can see all the red threads connected. Oh, Vader, no! All right. Sorry, Vader. Maybe, okay, I won't make those connections. I guess Vader didn't like them. Quick programming note, I guess. This is my bedroom. My home office is currently taken over by my daughter, who made it her bedroom, and then her bedroom became the guest bedroom. And my in-laws are staying here, so they're using it. So I'm having to record from my bedroom. I'm putting Vader and it's not Cody, but I like to call him Cody, kind of behind me. So yeah, I lost my train of thought a little bit, but basically it was a pretty good episode of Clone Wars Season 7. Again, my first or second favorite of the season so far. Can't wait for the next one on Friday. I don't have the title for that one here. Let me look at my notes real quick. Microphone stop moving. Yeah, I'm sorry if you hear paper rustling. Those are my notes. I do like to take a lot of notes, so that's why I keep looking to the side. So no, I don't have the name of next week's episode, but that's fine. But yeah, pretty cool, good episode, good continuation of the current arc, and it elevated a little bit more. And again, if you're having issues with this season or with this arc, remember what the Clone Wars was all about. All those great episodes there. Again, none of this is gonna be filler. Everything starts matching up together, so just keep at it. Then the reveal at the end with Bo-Katan, Orsa Ren, and hopefully her being the armorer, and then having a connection to season 2. And then if that's the case, I lost my connection again with the, what happened? I gotta do something here, sorry. Stop the share, and we're gonna share the screen again, don't worry. So like I mentioned before, the stranger at the end of season 1, episode 5 of The Mandalorian. I hope it's Cat Bane, most likely not, but we can hope, right? Well, not yet. So if we have all these connections in this episode, there's a mention of red-eyed alien, hopefully Cat Bane, so we'll see. One thing that I noticed in this episode, I'm starting to think, maybe stormtroopers are not as bad a shot as everyone else says, and I think blasters are just bad at aiming, because the Pikes had a lot of open shots against Ahsoka and the Martez, and they didn't hit a single one. I think blasters are not as good, and stormtroopers are getting a bad rap. So yeah, so that was Clone Wars episode 7.